Imagine walking through a palace corridor filled with the laughter, cries, and footsteps of children. Not 2 or 3, but a dozen, perhaps more. Now imagine being the woman who brought them all into the world, again and again, often at the risk of her own life. For centuries, queens were not only symbols of power and grace, but also dynastic engines. Their greatest duty was not the crown they wore or the court they commanded, it was the children they bore. Behind every empire stood a mother whose body carried the weight of nations, whose womb decided the survival of kingdoms. Some gave birth 14 times, others 20 or more. Their stories are filled with love, endurance, tragedy, and unshakable devotion. Today, we uncover the lives of 7 royal mothers whose extraordinary journeys of motherhood shaped history itself. Here we meet one of the most romanticized figures in history, Mumtaz Mahal. Born into a Persian noble family, she became the beloved wife of Shah Jahan, the man who would later build the Taj Mahal. Though he had other wives, Mumtaz was his true companion. She followed him not only into the courts of power, but even onto battlefields, a rare devotion for a queen. Together, they had 14 children, but only 7 survived into adulthood. Her final pregnancy, the 14th, proved fatal. After more than 30 hours of exhausting labor, Mumtaz died at just 38, leaving Shah Jahan heartbroken. In his grief, he built the Taj Mahal, not just as a tomb, but as a monument of eternal love and loss. From the marble of Agra to the palaces of England, our next queen's story reveals what it meant to raise not only a dynasty, but a nation. Another queen carried the weight of dynasty through motherhood, Queen Charlotte of England, consort to King George III. Born a German princess, she became queen at only 17, stepping into one of Europe's most powerful thrones. Charlotte's life was not marked by great wars or monuments, but by the endless rhythm of pregnancy. In just over 2 decades, she gave birth to 15 children. Among them were George IV, William IV, and Prince Edward, the father of the future Queen Victoria. Through her bloodline, Charlotte became the grandmother of modern Britain. Yet even in her devotion, she admitted to the crushing burden. While carrying her 14th child, she confessed, "I don't think a prisoner could wish more ardently for his liberty than I wish to be rid of my burden." From her crowded nursery in England, we now journey to Central Europe, where another queen's children would weave the threads of an empire. In the heart of 16th century Europe, Anna of Bohemia and Hungary stood at the center of one of history's most powerful dynasties. At just 18, she married Ferdinand I, grandson of the Holy Roman Emperor. What began as a dynastic arrangement soon became a rare royal love story. Anna's role, however, went far beyond affection. Unlike many of her inbred royal peers, she brought new blood into the often fragile Habsburg line. Over her lifetime, she endured 15 pregnancies. Remarkably, 13 of her children survived into adulthood, a near miracle in an age when child mortality was heartbreakingly common. Her sons and daughters grew to be emperors, queens, bishops, and nuns, carefully placed across Europe to strengthen Habsburg influence. But her devotion came at a cost. During her final childbirth, Anna contracted a deadly infection and died at just 43. Her husband Ferdinand never remarried, honoring her memory until his own death. From Europe's dynastic weaver, our journey now turns to medieval England, where a queen carried her crown not in luxury but on horseback. Travel back to 13th century England, and we find a queen whose life was spent not in comfort, but in motion. Eleanor of Castile, a Spanish princess, married Edward, later King Edward I, when she was only 13 years old. Unlike many royal brides, Eleanor was more than a ceremonial partner. She rode beside her husband on crusades, campaigned with him across rough terrain, and shared in the hardships of medieval life. Eleanor's devotion was matched by her endurance as a mother. She gave birth 16 times. Yet tragedy was constant. Only a few of her children lived long enough to reach adulthood, including the future Edward II. Each loss left its mark, but she remained steadfast, following her husband even into war camps while pregnant or grieving. Her final pregnancy weakened her beyond recovery, and she died in 1290. In his grief, King Edward ordered the building of 12 monumental stone crosses along her funeral route, memorials that still stand as symbols of royal love and loss. From the windswept roads of England, we now move to Naples, where a reluctant bride became a relentless queen. In 18th century Naples, Maria Carolina, daughter of the powerful Maria Theresa of Austria, was married off at only 15 to King Ferdinand IV of Naples and Sicily. She despised her husband and dreaded the marriage, yet duty left her with no choice. What began as a reluctant union soon turned into one of Europe's most politically charged reigns. Maria Carolina gave birth to 17 children, though only 7 survived. Her private losses were heavy, but she refused to be defeated. Instead, she seized control of state affairs, building alliances and guiding Naples through turbulent times. She ruled during the era of the French Revolution, which claimed her beloved sister Marie Antoinette, and she faced the rising storm of Napoleon's conquests. Though exiled in her later years, Maria Carolina never abandoned her willpower. She is remembered as a queen who turned motherhood into strategy, using her children's marriages to strengthen dynasties. From Southern Europe's iron-willed queen, our story turns to Britain once again, where one woman's motherhood was marked, not by abundance, but by heartbreaking emptiness. Few monarchs endured sorrow like Queen Anne of Great Britain. Over the course of 16 years, she faced pregnancy 18 times. Miscarriages, stillbirths, and infant deaths followed one after another, leaving her nurseries silent. Her only child, too, survived beyond infancy. Prince William, Duke of Gloucester, died at the age of 11. With him, her hopes for a lasting bloodline vanished. Modern doctors believe Anne may have suffered from Hughes syndrome, a disorder that causes dangerous blood clotting and could explain her repeated losses. The constant strain broke her health, leaving her crippled and confined to a wheelchair in her later years. Yet despite her personal grief, Anne proved to be a capable monarch. In 1707, under her reign, England and Scotland were united into the Kingdom of Great Britain, a transformation that changed Europe forever. From a queen defined by tragic emptiness, we now turn to Georgia, where one royal mother gave birth more times than almost any in history. At the crossroads of East and West, in the rugged kingdom of Georgia, lived Queen Darajan, wife of King Heraclius II. Her life between the 18th and 19th centuries was marked by duty, survival, and extraordinary motherhood. Between the ages of 12 and 42, Darajan gave birth to an astonishing 23 children, one of the highest confirmed numbers for any queen consort in history. But motherhood in Georgia's royal court was never simple. Darajan was more than a mother. She was a fighter for her children's future. Her husband had sons from a previous marriage, and she pushed fiercely to ensure that her own sons would inherit the throne. Her ambition led her to persuade the king to alter the succession laws, a decision that ignited bitter family rivalries. After Heraclius's death, chaos followed. Russia annexed Georgia, and Darajan was forced into exile in St. Petersburg. She died far from her homeland, remembered as both a mother of 23 and a queen of relentless will. From this record-breaking mother, we now step back to see the greater picture these 7 women share.